Hello everybody, I hope you had a good 3 weeks since the last weekend update. I apologize for not having made a weekend update last week and the week before that, but I've been really very busy, unfortunately. This week, unfortunately for me, it's gonna be my vacation, so yeah, I'm gonna be able to catch up. Anyway, this weekend I want to talk to you about something that I've been kind of following for a few months, let's say that, and the evolution of Steam as a curated platform. Or non-curated platform. Steam, as some of you might know, and some of you might agree with me on this, Steam has been basically, I think, the most important agent in basically the resurgence of PC gaming as a real avenue of profit for developers. Especially for indie development, and Steam has been making a lot of progress in that regard, and helped a lot of new games come to the fray without the help of a traditional publisher, because make no mistake, Steam is still a publisher, Valve is still a publisher. Every game that is released on Steam is effectively being published by Valve, and our traditional perception of publishers, because that has also been evolved because of Steam. Our traditional perception and the role they play in game development has changed because of Steam. Now, I remember like, for example, 2004, 2005, that time, those years were very tough for indie development. They were very tough. I mean, they were on the back of basically the extinction of a lot of amazing developers. Back in 2003, 2004, stuff like Surtech went down, Interplay was going down, Troika went down in 2005, 3 Yoga went out, I think, in 2003. We had, I think, the ending of, who made Deus Ex? Anyway, a lot of old developers that weren't really mainstream from the end of the century and the beginning of the new millennium, they were going down, and AAA development was going in a very specific direction. And that direction was, make no mistake, first-person shooters. Halfway through the last decade, first-person shooters were all the rage. You know, you wanted maximum graphics, you wanted immersive storytelling, and yes, you know, there was already a line of RPGs that were taking that into consideration from before, but in what regarded me as my primary enjoyment out of video games, things were looking very grim, and AAA development was taking a turn that Steam basically undid. AAA developers were going to consoles, so the PC market was being left behind. We still had strategy games, which you kind of don't have anymore. Well, not nearly as much as we had at around that time. But Steam made it possible for games, fantastic games that came through recently and not so recently to exist. FTL, for example, comes to mind as something that really was unseen before, and you had games even more paradigm changing, I think paradigm shifting, like The Long Dark or Xenonauts. Xenonauts not really, but I was thinking of Don't Starve. But then on the other hand, you have also games like Xenonauts or Legend of Grimrock that could get out there because of Steam. And the reason why Steam did it, and this is my point, this is the point of this video, the reason why Steam was able to do that is because Steam was a curated platform. If you had your game on Steam for a long time, you had not only a huge audience looking at your game for a long time after release, and when I say a long time, I mean like a couple of weeks at least, because it was on the latest release, but not only did you have that, but also you were part of a select game list that you kind of could point to and say, I'm part of that, my game is over there, look at that. Today, Steam is not like that. Steam has gone through a couple of years of a lot of turmoil. You could think of the work of YouTubers like Jim Sterling. Total Biscuit as well has covered a few of that. Sid Alpha has also been doing a lot of work, and there's other YouTubers pointing out the crap in Steam. But for a couple of years now, through the life of not really Kickstarter. I'm not really opposed to Kickstarter myself. I think it's a good project. It's a good way of monetizing games. It of course has bad things, but Greenlight in particular has seen a lot of new games getting to the system, getting to Steam. And Greenlight, as some of you might know, has gone away. So what Greenlight was basically a way for developers to get accepted into Steam. They paid a fee to get into Greenlight. I don't remember what fee it was. I don't know what fee it was. I believe it was 100 euros or $100 to get in. But basically, they paid a fee to be accepted into Greenlight, and then you would vote for that. There were like 3 or 4, I think it was 3, I voted a few times. I think there were 3 games in each little roster, and then you voted on the one you preferred, and the games that had more votes, they would get into Steam and get accepted into Steam. They wouldn't release immediately. If the developer had the game, they would release immediately, but they wouldn't necessarily release immediately. They get this slot reserved. And what happened with Greenlight was that a lot of crap got through, because there was this sort of sidelines industry of just people paying for votes, giving keys for votes, or just having crappy games greenlit into Steam and just flooding the market with crappy games. And this went on for 2 years, I believe. 2 years went on the Greenlight. But now Greenlight has ended. Valve is trying to get Steam to work differently now. Now everybody who wants to have a game on Steam can just pay the fee, $100, and gets into Steam immediately, right there. And we've seen the last couple of months more Steam games be released than ever. What happens with this, it's very tricky to make predictions, but what has happened with this is that the vast majority of new games that I've personally seen, the vast majority of games that I've seen highlighted on Steam are either games that I've seen elsewhere, outside of Steam. Like you could say, I could open Steam right now. Actually, I don't have Steam logged in. I could log in, but anyway, games that I've even either seen outside, like Arkham City. I think it's been released, Arkham City or something. There's or Arkham Knight. I don't know. I don't play Batman games, but there's a few games that I've seen outside, like Hellblade, for example. And then there's games that are absolute crap. There's asset flippers, there's low effort games that are mostly for achievements, and Steam is being flooded with crappy stuff. And what I've personally seen happen is that I can no longer look at the featured and recommended thing as something that I can reliably look forward to and just say, oh, right now it's pointing me to Soul River 2, which is a fantastic game that I have, not on Steam though. It's a fantastic game. I can't look at Steam as a curated platform anymore. And that's the thing. That's the point. I think Steam, what they're trying to do is stop having, basically they don't want to curate on the entry level. They want to let everybody in. But then you only get recommended the games that actually matter to you as a player. And that might give them more money on the short term, maybe on the medium term as well. But and maybe on the long term, they are going to be alright. I hope they are. Steam has been an amazing thing for PC gaming. But the problem is, I think because of this, I'm not going to be able to look at Steam and, okay, this is the games that I should play. I'm gonna need to look more and more elsewhere, like we did 10 or 15 years ago. I think this is a bad thing for Steam in general, but it might be an opportunity for news sites and YouTube channels that focus on recommending proper games. Not really, you know, Let's Play channels kind of work differently. A Let's Play channel, maybe not mine, because I play a lot of old stuff. I usually mostly play the games that I really enjoy. So the recommendations that you'll get on my channel are a little bit different, not just necessarily the new games that you get, but Let's Play channels are tricky because you'll see big channels, specifically big channels, just play whatever is new. But yes, they do a little bit of curation, but it's not the same. What you need to look at is actual reviews, not people just enjoying the games because they hope that the people who are watching their video are going to enjoy watching their video, because that's what Let's Player is. That's why I play games that I enjoy, otherwise it would be bad. If I'm playing a game and just bashing on the game and you would be, oh, I came here because I like the game, why are you dissing on it? But I think we're going to need to look more and more outside of Steam to look at our games and just to know what games we're going to have to play. And this is something that I touched on a couple of days ago, or a few days ago on stream. I was talking about this on stream, and something that I've been thinking for this video. I think the middle tier of video game development might be in big danger with the changes that Steam has made. I look at the game like, well, I look at 3 games in particular, and I really worry that for the fact that they didn't sell particularly well. Yes, you can argue. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like them, but I look at 3 games. It's Tyranny from Obsidian that came out. It's going on for a year now. It's only sold like 20 or 200,000 copies, and I mean, it's not a full price game. It's not like it didn't have the same development cost as Pillars of Eternity, and it's a different game as well. So you can't really comment on all those things. Like maybe the market is saturated. Yes, maybe it's not as good as a game for some people. It's true. Maybe they didn't spend as much on the marketing side of things. I personally didn't see that, but maybe. There's Torment, Tides of Numenera, which was a game that had a huge amount of marketing spent on it, a huge development schedule. It was a full game. It was a full price game, and also it sold less than Tyranny. And I personally enjoyed it a lot. Now that I'm playing Planescape Torment, I can see it with a different light, but still I worry about in those 2 games, Obsidian and In Exile, which are kind of the middle tier of games. They're not AAA, they're not really indie though. They're not really indie. And then you have the true indie that are trying to just step up a little bit and go up beyond what Expeditions Conquistador had in Expeditions Viking. That's what I'm talking about. Expeditions Viking sold very, very little. I don't think they broke the 50,000 copies. And 50,000 copies was the optimistic goal for the first year for a game like The Age of Decadence. Now they've sold a little bit more. I think they're going on for the 100,000 copies for The Age of Decadence, and they're doing very well for what they are, because they're a team of 4. But it's a different game. That is an actual indie game. You look at The Age of Decadence, you can see that, you know, the graphics aren't the best, and there's a lot of stuff that a AAA game would do. Like, there's no voice acting. There's a lot of stuff that's handled through text rather than animations and all this sort of stuff. And you know, there's no world travel. There's a lot of stuff that's missing because it's a very small team. There were 4 or 5 guys and girls. I think there's a couple of girls that are also working. But 50,000 copies sold for that game. It's good. It's really good for a bigger team like the one for Expeditions Vikings or Viking. It's not, and I really worry. I really worry about that. And I think the reason for that is that the people who would love to play Expeditions Viking didn't get it on Steam, didn't see it on Steam being recommended, instead saw some visual novel because it's story heavy, or because they saw any of the, I mean, Steam hasn't been showing me those recently, which is a good thing. Any of the other sort of things, like the ones that have been flooding Steam for a long while, and I really worry about those. So tell me how you feel about Steam. Tell me about how you feel about the necessity, if it is the necessity about looking outside of Steam for curation, for recommendation, for reviews. Do you think that's going up? Do you think that's a need that's becoming more and more important, or do you feel how do you feel about the future? Tell me in sweet lies, though. Don't make me worry about the future of video gaming, because I've gone through 2004, 2005. Those were dark times. Those were really dark times for role-playing games. I hope those times are not coming. There's a lot of good stuff in the future. There's a lot of good stuff in the future, and I don't know. Tell me how you feel. And stick around, because there's more stuff going on in this video, so I'll see you in a little bit. And as I said at the beginning of the video, I am on vacation from my work, because I have a full-time job, and my full-time job has been the vast majority of the problem why I haven't had time recently. But this week I am free. I am not gonna work on my web design development work that I have to do, and I will be able to catch up on the recordings that I have on YouTube. I will be streaming every single day, starting today until next Saturday. I will be streaming Fallout New Vegas on Tuesday, and on Thursday. Sorry, I mixed Tuesday and Thursday. It doesn't matter. On Thursday, Fallout New Vegas, and on Saturday, Fallout New Vegas as well. I'm really excited about the future of Fallout New Vegas. I'm really enjoying the game a lot. And Dark Souls is coming on Thursday, same time as always, 10 p.m. GMT, summertime. So right now, well, you can't really tell this video goes up at 9 p.m. GMT, so if you're seeing this on the hour of release, then you know the time zone. But yeah, that's on twitch.tv/KernelRPG. That's the link. Got a link for you down below, actually, because YouTube doesn't let me link up there on the links for Twitch. I don't know. I think they screwed up with the cards. They really should have stuck with the annotations. But anyway, yes, this week is my vacation. I'll be streaming every day. I will be active all day on my Patreon. If you're on my Discord. If you're my patron, be sure to check out Discord. If you don't have Discord, you don't need to have it installed on your computer. You can just access it on your browser. It's basically like a chat thing. It's pretty cool. I am around there all day. Basically, I have the window open right now, and my patrons can talk to me right there directly. Of course, you can talk to me as well in the comments, but that might take a little longer for me to reply. But I do reply to all my comments, unless, you know, it's not a comment that doesn't warrant a reply or something like that. But I read all my comments, all of them, and I thank you very much for commenting, because that's amazing. That's the best part of, well, that's the second best part of doing YouTube, is talking to you guys. Thank you so much for you know, the feedback, really. That's whether you're enjoying it, or if you just have a question, or if you have a criticism or all that, that's very, very good to hear and to reply to. And of course, the best part of doing YouTube is playing the video games. That kind of goes without saying, doesn't it? Iced water. So hot. It's so hot here in Portugal right now. Anyway, what has happened in the last 3 weeks since I've made my last weekend update in terms of RPGs and games that are a little bit like RPGs? What has come out? Well, a lot of good stuff has come out. A lot of interesting games that I personally have not played. Well, I will be playing actually one of them this week. Pyre has come out from the guys that made Bastion, and also another game that I forget the name of. It's getting rave reviews. People are really enjoying the writing, are really enjoying the gameplay as well. It's a very interesting RPG where combat takes on, basically the combat takes on sort of a sports thing. The fighting is weird. It's pretty interesting, so you might want to look it up. It's getting rave reviews. Another game that has also come out is Galaxy of Pen and Paper from the guys that have made Knights of Pen and Paper. So if you've played those games before and you know what they are all about, I've never played them. Even though they look interesting, they sound interesting anyway, but they take a little bit too much to the JRPG side of things for me. Take a little bit after the JRPG side of things. That's what I mean to say. But Galaxy of Pen and Paper just goes into Galaxy, and I believe it is very much in the lines of Knights and Pen and Paper, so look it up. Got links for you for all these games down below. Another game, Fighting Fantasy Legends. This one has actually excited me a lot, and I have not gotten it for myself. I'll be contacting the developer and seeing if I can get that game from them to cover here on the channel, because it's pretty interesting. I'll need to look a little bit more into that. But basically, if you don't know what this is a game that if you've seen my sorcery Let's Play, that's not exactly like sorcery, not exactly. But Fighting Fantasy is a series of books where you just you fight, you have like adventures in sort of a role-playing in books form, and it's pretty interesting. So look into that. I think it's reasonably priced, so it might be a good acquisition for you. Immortal Planet is a top-down, also came out, top-down real-time action RPG that looks pretty interesting, and that's going to be the one that I'm going to be playing this week on stream. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but it is going to happen. I'm going to look it up. And also Bumpy McSqueegums has a video on it. It looks pretty interesting. Another game that has come out in the last 3 weeks is The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel. That's quite a name right there. But I do like subtitles. Subtitles are a good thing to have. They're a little bit presumptuous, but I'm okay with some presumptuosity. It's a JRPG. It's been very well received, so you might look into that. It looks pretty cool though. So if you like JRPGs, you might want to check it out. Got, again, links for you down below. Weaves of Fate, on the other hand, it's apparently not being as well received, but it does look very interesting. It's an indie tactical RPG that reminds me a lot of Ultima, but I think it's more it's close, according to the reviews, it's closer a little bit to Shining Force and Final Fantasy Tactics, which I have played myself a little bit. So it looked very interesting. The Tavern, it's a mixture of JRPG and visual novel. The Tavern is a sort of it's a very indie game. It's trying to do something new in regards to role-playing, but I'm not really sure how new it is, because people just say, you know, oh, it's new, it's phase-based combat. Yeah, no, it's not phase-based combat though, but it's easy for developers to come to doing something new. But it's good to see that they have that intention. I haven't played it, so yeah, just might want to look into that. Victorium. Victorium is an actual RPG, again trying to do something new with spellcasting. Sort of a sandboxy game. 3D and destructible environments and a weird way of, well, I say weird, a special way of telling story. That one has, well, people have been mixed on that, but you might want to look into that. It's 20 bucks though, so I think it is 20 bucks. Look into that, but it's 20 bucks on the price, so might be a little bit too much of a barrier for entry for what the game actually delivers. West of Loathing, that one has been very well received. It's a simple RPG, a very interesting art style, as you can tell from... I need to put these up, because that's much better for you to see. West of Loathing has been very well received. It's apparently very, very funny. I haven't seen or heard anything from it, but apparently people liked it a lot, so that's interesting. And last but not least, not necessarily the least, Dragon's Dungeon Awakening. It looks very, very cool. It's pretty neat looking roguelike that some people are praising a lot and some people don't like, but then again, roguelikes can be a little bit of a hit and miss for some people and can be amazing for others. So if you are a fan, it's very, very cheap, so I recommend you check it out because it, well, at least look into it because it does look very, very neat. So that's that for these 3 weeks. This basically just goes hand in hand with what I was saying before. Steam is not necessarily the... If I look into Steam for new releases, it's got an RPG right there. If I go into new releases, new and trending, yeah, right. If I go into new releases, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't warrant mention. Well, that's actually a thing that's a real release. I forgot to say it, actually, because it's not a new game. Icy, a game that I've played here on the channel, has been a new release. It's seen a new release free for everybody that had the game already. Frostbite Edition, but then again, it's right there on Steam right now. But, yeah, that's that. It just, I feel that it's important to tell you about the games that I've personally seen that are worth mentioning about new releases. So if you want to stick with what's new and interesting and you can't get through Steam's muck and grime, well, I'm here for you. Anyway, stick around for the next little bit. Last 3 weeks for me have been sort of a very interesting 3 weeks on YouTube. I've been watching a lot of new stuff and a lot of more stuff from the people that I've recommended to you in this little segment of my weekend updates. This week I want to recommend you a fantastic, brilliant channel for those of you that enjoy fantasy games, fantasy stuff, and historical stuff as well. Scalagrim! It's a channel that focuses on historical European, not necessarily historic European martial arts, but it does have a focus point on that. It focuses on swords and weaponry and fantasy weapons, analysis, and just real-life tests for real-life weapons. Just like swords and axes and pickaxes and just amazing, amazing material in that channel. I got a link for you up there for one of my favorite videos on the channel. It's called The Poor Use of Shields in Video Games, and a suggestion for animators. It's a very, very interesting video about the use of shields. The thing is, when we play video games, we get trained to think specific things about shields in particular, about a lot of things, about fighting stances and about how you act, about architecture, about a lot of stuff like that. But Scalagrim is one of many, well, I'll say many, but about one of a handful of channels that I follow on YouTube that are really, really good and that touch this stuff, these things. And this video will teach you a little bit about how to use a shield in, well, in real life, effectively, but how you would use a shield in an historical context, and I really like the suggestion that he does stuff for animators, because it's a really cool stance. It's so cool. The fighting in video games is crap. The fighting in movies is crap. In TV series is crap. It's very rare that you have a video game that does mimic fighting properly. The Witcher 3 actually did it very, very well, except for Geralt. Even Geralt is pretty realistic. You know, of course, it is made up, but the fighting in The Witcher 3 is pretty awesome. Those guys know what they're doing. There's other games that are very good. Even stuff like Dark Souls, there's a lot of swords in particular, and spears that are realistic, the fighting. But generally it's very bad. So seeing how they were used, it is really cool. And it does change. It does change how you see things. In particular, for example, I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones, of A Song of Ice and Fire in particular. I prefer the books, but I really like the series. And the fighting in Game of Thrones, people praise it, and I can't really comment on I can comment on the accuracy of the fighting, but I can't really comment on the acrobatic side of it, and how tough it is actually to teach somebody how to fight properly, and how safe you can be when doing all those things in the fights in the series. And this applies to a lot of things as well, a lot of TV series, not just Game of Thrones, but it's something that I've commented on stream, over on Twitch, with a couple of guys and girls there that commented on Game of Thrones, and the fighting is just atrociously bad. It's really bad. When I started watching Game of Thrones, it's been a few years now, I wasn't really aware of how you would fight in a historical context. So when I saw them, you know, the sword, and all that sort of stuff, I was like, okay, they're fighting. It wasn't really exciting, and I never really saw... That's something I need to touch on in another update, but I have a big problem enjoying busy action scenes. I like the strategy of an action scene, not so much the movement. But that's me. I respect that other people might see things differently, but you know, it was fighting. But now that I know, well, for starters, how heavy a sword is, I am actually looking into getting one for myself. It is a little bit of an investment, but it's pretty interesting. A proper one, anyway, for just training stances and all that. A dull one. I'm not gonna want to cut myself or anything. But they're very light. Swords are very light. It's just 1 kilogram. A little bit above that if it's the particularly big a sword. Not very, very rarely close to 2 kilograms. And 1 kilogram is 2 pounds. So just for those of you in Imperial, so it's really, really light, and the weight is at the bottom of the sword. It's not like an axe where where you need to just use the force of the axe, and or a mace. It's even a mace it's different. It's not as heavy, as top heavy as you would think, or a hammer, for example. But a sword is really very versatile, and it's meant to be fast. It's not meant to be heavy. It's not meant to be top heavy. But anyway, I'm digressing. Go look it up. Go check out Scalagrim, and I highly recommend you check out his channel. But check after you see the last couple of sections, though. So thank you. Because the next section is for me to thank you so much for your support, for all of you that are watching right now, that are even not watching right now, that are just watching my videos right now somewhere, or have watched them in the recent past or the past at all. Thank you so much for your support. It's amazing. It's amazing the reception I've had over the last couple years, really. Everybody has been amazing, but I am trying. I am planning a future where I can do YouTube full-time. I really would like that, but the thing is, YouTube is really hard to grow on. I am extremely lucky to have grown as much as I have, and I'm very thankful for that, but there is a way you can help me get closer to doing YouTube full-time, and being capable of doing other stuff that I don't do right now, and that's through Patreon. And that's not just me. That's not just me. If you have a YouTuber that you like, you really should look into it if they have a Patreon, because just $1 a month or $1 a video helps a lot, because it's not just you. If it's a lot of people at the same time, because, you know, that's how it works. Even if it's a small YouTuber, and I know of cases like, for example, Keith Ballard has a Patreon, and that Patreon sustains him, and he does YouTube full-time because of his Patreon. And there's another channel that I really, really enjoy, Matt Barton, that does interviews, and he sleeves, well, he sleeves, he does YouTube because of his Patreon, because his YouTube videos don't actually get that many views, which is a shame, but you know, it's interviews, it's tricky to get a lot of views on that. Some interviews do get more views, but it's tricky for some YouTubers to survive it, and if we want YouTube to keep going, if we want competition, effectively, if you want to see new people and to inspire new people, we need to look after those who we really enjoy. And in last week, I think, no, actually at the end of last month, I have become a patron myself of Matt Martin that I mentioned. But that's all thanks to you, because you have been helping a lot with my financial situation over at Patreon, because I have also a Patreon page up there if you want to look into that. I got stretch goals, I got rewards, and of course that's what I mean. The YouTube it's really tricky to gain money through or gain relevant money through advertisement on YouTube, and Patreon is the way to go for everybody. For everybody, even big YouTubers that could gain money through YouTube, they prefer, well, some of them anyway. Some of them prefer, like Jim Sterling that I mentioned before. They remove advertisement on YouTube just because they have their patrons, and that's commendable. That's really great, and that does remove a lot of the bias that is inherent to making videos because of advertisement, to making videos instead of being for an audience that you know is there, to making videos for the bigger audience. And that's a big problem. I think that's a big problem, a long-term problem that's going to be only solved through sites like Patreon. But getting on with things, I do want to thank those of you that have gone out of your way to Patreon to support me there through money. I can't put it any other way. Sometimes I put it other way, like monetarily support me anyway. You know what it is. It's just that, making me a little bit closer to being able to do YouTube full time. And those of you that have done that and are currently my patrons are Rob Anybody, Robert Dafford, Paul Bible, Joshua A. Ennis, Adam Collider, Eric Todd, Christopher Chilton, Michael Grayson, Grigory Krasikov. I'm so sorry, I always mix up with your name. I'm so sorry. Sorry. The Matt Larkin and Andre Foral. Thank you all guys so much for supporting me. And if you're watching this video, if you haven't joined my Discord, it's right now, it's still patrons only. As I said, I'm always there. Go to my Patreon page. You can see, if you're a patron, you will be able to access it. You just have a link there. You follow that link to Discord. You create an account. If you don't have Discord, you don't have to have it installed on your computer. It's just through online. Look into that and say hi. And again, thank you so much for your support. And to end this very long weekend update, it's not the longest, I don't think. I am gonna go back to the first ever quote I made on these weekend updates. It's a brilliant song, it's lovely song, and it's a lovely line. I love it so much. The years just pass like trains. I wave, but they don't slow down. Freaking time. It's vacation time! Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next week. And I will see you over at Twitch or here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye!